Yo, how's everybody doing? Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. Hope you're all having a great and fantastic Thursday, June 26th. One more day closer to the weekend, and I hope that you all have a fantastic weekend out there. Coming up here on the show, are the Philadelphia Eagles going to make one more offseason move? Also, Pro Football Focus really likes this Philadelphia Eagles defense going into 2025 as PFF gave Vic Fangio's unit a lot of high praise. Before we accomplish all of that, only a few days left here in the month of June. 2025 is really going quickly, and the NFL season is going to be here before we know it. But those of you who are real ones, type real one down in the comment section, because you know what we've been trying to accomplish all throughout this month. Picking up more subscribers in June than we did in May. So far this month, we have been crushing it. 1,005 people have hit that sub button. But in May, 1,132 people locked us in. That means we need 128 more people to overtake that number from last month. We can accomplish that with this video. Our goal is to be number one here at Chat Sports. We cover almost every team across the NFL. We cover college football, NBA. Philadelphia Eagles Now, over the last year, has picked up more subs than any other channel here at the company. Let's continue to set the precedent and set the level of expectations here at the company. Subscribe today. Let's take down that May number. All right, let's get the show underway. We're talking football here as we do every single day right here on the program. ESPN put together an article looking at one more offseason move that every team in the National Football League should make. 32 teams in the league, 32 moves put out there by Aaron Schatz, an ESPN writer. And he set the foundation for that article by saying this. Although we are far along in the 2025 NFL offseason, all 32 rosters aren't final yet. There is still time for teams to make bold moves and try to improve. Just look at the Steelers, bringing in quarterback Aaron Rodgers. The Ravens, signing Jair Alexander. A few salary cap situations are in flux. So now's the time for teams to get players locked down before the regular season. I've suggested one final move for each NFL team, something they can take care of in late June, early July that will put them in a better situation for the 2025 season and or beyond that. Some of my suggestions include contract extensions, last-minute signings, and even trades, but I limited myself to just one landing spot for each of the top remaining free agents. As for that move for Howie Roseman and the Birds, ESPN's suggestion, wide receiver Tyler Boyd, who you're probably familiar with because he played for the Cincinnati Bengals for a very long time, and he's been a really solid wide receiver. A lot of people in free agency look at the likes of Amari Cooper and that class. I'd say Tyler Boyd is right at that second level. Last year he played for Tennessee, didn't really put up big numbers, but keep in mind the quarterback situation with the Titans was awful. Will Levis was a joke. Mason Rudolph was getting some starts, and that led to a decrease in production for Boyd. Here's what ESPN said about his fit with Philadelphia. What do you suggest for a team that has basically everything? I can't even really suggest a contract extension here. Philadelphia's top young player approaching free agency, Nakobe Dean. But the team already prepared for his departure by using a first-round pick on Jahan Campbell in the most recent draft. One thing the Eagles could use is more depth at the wide receiver position, particularly a slot receiver who can open underneath and convert third downs. Keenan Allen would fit, but we have him going to the Dolphins. So how about Boyd? Boyd had just 39 catches for 390 yards with Tennessee last year, but he was an important part of the Bengals offense from 2016 to 2023. Jahan Dotson feels like he's in a better position to be productive in his second year with this Eagles offense, but Boyd would provide a strong backup case if Dotson is not. Now, the contract extension that I would think about making if I were the Eagles, a player like Reed Blankenship. It's not Nakobe Dean. Reed Blankenship is contract extension eligible. He's going to be a free agent after the 2025 season. Eagles look at him as a captain. That's probably the move that I would make if I was putting together this article, if I was running the ship for Philadelphia, and I imagine Howie Roseman knows that. My take on Tyler Boyd to Philadelphia. Jahan Dotson had a nice spring. He's your wide receiver 3. looked more comfortable in this Eagles offense. Wide receiver 3 in this offense will never put up big numbers because A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith are always getting the lion's share of the targets at wide receiver. Then you also have Dallas Goedert, and you're a very effective running team with Saquon Barkley. But there's also this. Danny Gray, a former third-round pick by the Niners in 2022. He's a 4-3 guy. He impressed in the spring. That's that vertical threat for this Eagles offense. Terrace Marshall, a former second-round pick by the Carolina Panthers, like Danny Gray, had an impressive spring. They also might be cheaper than a player like Tyler Boyd. Philadelphia also has Aniyah Smith and Johnny Wilson, who they drafted in the 2024 NFL draft. And so I think this Eagles wide receiver room is in a really good spot. A.J. Brown, Smitty, arguably the top wide receiver duo in the National Football League. Another year of Jahan Dotson being in this offense. He's a former first-round pick. You drafted Johnny Wilson, one of the tallest wideouts in the game. Can he be more consistent with his hands? Aniyah Smith has been working out with A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown put that workout at the link up on his YouTube channel. That's a great sign. A.J. was telling him to just dream and envision himself making plays at the link. Hopefully mentally that can unlock him a little bit. Terrace Marshall, Danny Gray, as I mentioned. Some people really like Giles Jackson, although I don't think he's going to make this team. You also have a player like Avery Williams who can play running back, wide receiver, and be a return man. So I think the Eagles are good at the wide receiver position. Now, if an injury were to happen, of course, you get concerns there at that specific spot. But you have A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith, a lethal 1-2 punch at the wide receiver position. And what they've been able to accomplish in Eagle uniforms, incredible. We might not ever see a 1-2 punch at wide receiver like this ever again in franchise history. It's very rare to have two players who are this elite, and you can make the argument that both of them are top 10 guys. A.J. Brown is a top 3 receiver in the game, and DeVonta Smith is arguably a top 10 player at the position. And since they've linked up with one another, A.J. and Smitty in Eagles uniforms, 630 catches, 9,475 yards, 59 touchdowns, 2 NFC Championship game appearances, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl championship. Consistency, durability, high-level play. And so wide receiver 3 to me isn't as much of a need for the Eagles as it is for other teams because they don't have the luxury of having Brown and Smitty and some of the other depth. Like Jahan Dotson, a former first-round pick, is wide receiver 3. So to round this out, I do not think the Eagles need to sign Tyler Boyd. He's been a really solid player throughout his career. It's not taking anything away from him. But if I'm Tyler Boyd, I might want to go somewhere else where I'm more involved in the offense. He's had a great career, 55th pick in 2016. He would give Philadelphia size at 6'2", 203. With the Bengals 2016 through 2023, they appreciated his services. Played last year with Tennessee, as we noted. He did have back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, 2018, 2019. His numbers have gone down a little bit in recent years, but keep in mind who he was playing alongside. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. They were putting up stupid production, and his career numbers, 552 catches, nearly 6,400 yards, 31 touchdowns. There's been a great level of consistency throughout Boyd's entire career. And you look at his career numbers right here. Year 1, after being a second-round pick out of Pitt, 603 yards. Year 2, injured. That was really the only season he's been injured in his career. Comes back, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, 2018, 2019, as we mentioned, and then consistently over 800 yards in 2020, 2021, over 700 yards in 2022, even in 2023, again, playing with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, able to put up some really solid production. So I do want to challenge you. Do you know this Eagles roster? If you do, what do you think is the biggest remaining need on this Eagles team? Let me know down in the comments section right now. You can get your football evaluation goggles on. Still to come here on the show, Eagles defense getting high praise from Pro Football Focus, in particular, 2 position groups. Stay tuned for that. But are you getting tuned up for 4th of July? I can't wait for it. If you are, you love America and you love the birds, These 4th of July Eagles shirts are available on sale right now, limited time only. Order yours so that you can be geared up for the 4th of July. All you have to do is use that link down below, chatsports.com/Eagles4th. And honestly, this is a dope shirt that you can wear at any point of the year. That's chatsports.com/Eagles4th. That link will take you directly to Fanatics. Plenty of other options out there with gear and memorabilia. We'll put that link down below in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's program. We move ahead. Going into the 2025 campaign as the Philadelphia Eagles look to go back-to-back as Super Bowl champions, this Eagles defense is getting a lot of love going into this upcoming season, and Vic Fangio has the luxury of coaching a really talented unit with a lot of upside, despite this Eagles defense having to replace more than 4,000 snaps lost from 2024 because of players leaving in free agency, getting traded, retiring, not returning to Philadelphia. And you think back to the 2024 season, what a special year it was for so many reasons, right? Legendary year from Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, DeVonta Smith, fantastic once again. This Eagles offensive line, best in the NFL. Jalen Hurts played awesome football in the NFC Championship game and in the Super Bowl, winning Super Bowl MVP. Philadelphia, of course, winning their second Lombardi trophy since 2017. They're really putting the rest of the NFL on notice with their roster construction, how they operate as an organization, how they're coached, player development, and then the turnaround for this Eagles defense. They started the year very spotty. They had that bye week in week 5. Coming out of the bye week, Cooper DeJean becomes a starter. They never look back. And they were so dominant to a point where they completely flustered, confused, and dominated Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in the Super Bowl. What an incredible performance. What an incredible season. Now, despite Philadelphia looking different on defense going into 2025, this is still an Eagles defense that has a bunch of young talent and core pieces that are young. And what I think is key about this Eagles defense going into 2025 is that, yes, you lose a lot of vets. You have to replace some leaders like Darius Slay and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. That's not going to be easy. But unlike on the offensive side of the ball, where the offense lost Kellen Moore and you have a lack of offensive continuity as far as your coaching staff there, the defensive continuity continues. That is going to be huge for the prospects of the Eagles trying to go back-to-back and win yet another Lombardi trophy. Eagles didn't lose any defensive coaches under Vic Fangio, and so can this unit continue to get better just because they continue to be more acclimated with Vic Fangio's system? And again, the talent and the depth that is still on this Eagles team. I think that's part of the reason why All-Pro linebacker Zach Bond, who was a first-team All-Pro last year and a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, said on the Exciting Mike's podcast with Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship, he feels like this Eagles defense, despite those aforementioned losses, at this point of the calendar year, miles ahead of where they were this time last year. And really on both sides of the ball, this is an Eagles lineup that is dynamite. And if the Eagles can stay healthy, I firmly believe that they can compete for a Super Bowl. They can go on a dynastic run. Now, a couple of these positions on the defensive side of the ball, a little bit unknown, undecided. Who will be the starters at defensive tackle next to Jalen Carter, at least the starter? Will it be Jordan Davis? Will it be Moro Ajomo? Who will be the starting outside corner opposite of Quinyon Mitchell? Because I think the Eagles should and will keep Cooper DeJean in the slot. Is it going to be Keely Ringo? If not, you have Adoree Jackson, who's going to start alongside Zach Bond week 1, given the injuries to Nakobe Dean and Jahan Campbell. Is it going to be Jeremiah Trotter Jr.? Pro Football Focus has Andrew Makuba as the starter alongside Reed Blankenship. Will it be him? Will it be Sidney Brown? Will it be somebody else? So there will be some roster battles on defense specifically because on offense, the Eagles return 10 of 11 starters for a team that won the Super Bowl. But this is still a unit that is highly respected and regarded across the NFL on defense. Pro Football Focus releasing their list of the top 10 defensive lines in football. Pittsburgh Steelers number 1, Philadelphia Eagles number 2, followed by the New York Giants, Houston Texans, Buffalo Bills, Detroit Lions, Cleveland Browns, Denver Broncos, Los Angeles Rams, and the Baltimore Ravens. Here's what PFF said about this Eagles defensive line, and I'm including this because you win the game at the line of scrimmage. You win the game at the point of attack. If you could dominate the offensive line and the defensive line, you have a chance on almost every single Sunday to be victorious, and that's the unit that could really pace this Eagles defense. PFF saying Philadelphia's defensive line, arguably the deepest in the league last year. As a result, even after the departures of Josh Sweat and Milton Williams in free agency, the unit remains one of the best in the NFL. On plays without a blitz in 2024, the Eagles generated pressure 36% of the time, fifth highest rate in the NFL. Jalen Carter's 84.4 Pro Football Focus pass rush grade ranked fourth among interior defenders, and Moro Ajomo's 82.4 figure placed sixth at the position. So you lose Josh Sweat, but how about elevations and continued ascent from Nolan Smith, Jalen Hunt? You also add Azeez Ojulari, Josh Uche. You draft Antoine Powell-Ryland. You lose Milton Williams. You replace him with Moro Ajomo. This Eagles starting defensive line, they might be number 2 as an overall unit, according to Pro Football Focus, but their starting defensive line, the youngest in the National Football League. And this is why I continue to say the future for this Eagles team is bright. This can be a dynastic run if they can stay healthy. Jordan Davis is only 25, under contract 2 more years. Jalen Carter's 24, going into year 3. Nolan Smith, 24, going into year 3. Jalen Hunt, 24, going into year 2. Moro Ajomo is 23 still, going into year 3. Ty Robinson, a rookie, 24 years old. Can't wait to see the boys up front firing on all cylinders, pacing this Eagles defense under Fangio. We're not done. This Eagles linebacking unit ranked number 1 in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. The top 5 units at backer, Eagles at 1, followed by the Detroit Lions, New England Patriots, Kansas City Chiefs, and Washington Commanders, which I think is a little bit interesting. I think other teams could vie to be in that 5th spot. PFF on the Eagles linebacking core. Again, what are we talking about here? Eagles are stout up front. They're stout at that second level. They have questions in the secondary. You know what makes the secondary's job a lot easier? Getting a good pass rush, having solid linebacker play. You like what you're hearing? Same with me. Philadelphia holds the top spot in these rankings with the stacked linebacker unit that only got better this offseason. They handed Zach Ball a well-deserved contract extension after he finished 2024 with a league-leading 90.2 PFF grade. Nakobe Dean wasn't far behind, placing 11th among qualified linebackers at 77.4. The team drafted insurance for Dean's postseason injury in Jahan Campbell, who was the 2025 class's best linebacker. Youngsters, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Smile Mondon, also provide quality depth. I like this Eagles linebacking core. I like how Howie Roseman has changed his tune with putting more of an emphasis in financial spending and putting a priority on that linebacker position. I think as NFL offenses spread out, they become more dynamic, they become faster. You need to counter that with better linebacker play. And for so long, the Eagles didn't have that. Now they do. So the number 1 ranking surprised me, but you'll certainly take it. And then in the secondary, again, you have those question marks that I talked about, but you still have Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, who are number 1 and number 2 as rookies and man coverage grade last year. And I think that they can only continue to get better and continue to be backbones and pillars of this Eagles defense too. So with Kevin Patullo becoming offensive coordinator, maybe the offense struggles a little bit, but maybe the defense buys them some time to figure it out early in the year. They pace the football team, and then by season's end, Philadelphia can really be humming on offense and on defense. The Eagles defense, number 1 overall unit in 2024. Where will they rank defensively in 2025? Scale it for me from 1 to 32. 32 teams in the NFL, of course. Don't forget to give me a follow on social media. I'm always talking and posting about the Birds on X and Instagram. You can find me there at Chase_Senior, reaching millions of people on these platforms, so you don't want to miss out on my coverage there either.